I've put a lot of hours into FM24 this year, I've rebuilt a ton of clubs, and of course that means that I have made loads of transfers in game, some of which have worked out, and some of which not so much. But I'm not going to let those hours of experience go to waste. Today, I'll be showing you some of the best players that I've signed in my saves that hopefully will do good for you as well if you sign them. Now there's some players that are a couple of million, some that are way more than that, but hopefully there'll be something for everyone. This isn't the first time I've done a video like this. What I always love to do when I do these is to ask you guys to let me know in the comments down below your favourites, so there's even more options for people to look through. I've picked out 11 of my favourites today. It doesn't mean these are the only players I've enjoyed using, but hopefully there'll be some interesting guys here that you might not have tried out before. And of course we have to start off any team with a goalkeeper, and my choice for one of my favourites this year is Muric out at Burnley. Now if you've got an updated transfer pack on, you'll know that he is actually playing for Ipswich in real life, where in real life, he's not doing very well, but in game, I think he is excellent. One, because, I mean, look at his attributes. He's a very good pickup for the price you can get him for. He's at a good age as well, at 24, with plenty of experience, and over the next few years, he will develop a lot as he heads into his prime years as a goalkeeper. But the thing I always like about Muric is, yes, he does great for me no matter what, but the amount of times I see this guy playing at the highest levels when I don't sign him, it goes to show how good of a player he is in FM. Like, sometimes I won't pick him up, but I'll see him, he's playing for PSG in goal, or Bayern Munich as their starting goalkeeper, which is like completely unexpected really of a man that the game actually considers as backup at Burnley, which doesn't end up being the case. He does get the game time, he will attract interest, but for 10 or 15 million, I mean, he is a bargain. Sometimes I've paid way more than that a few years down the line, sometimes I get him cheaper. I've had him on a free contract once, but he's 6'6", he's a very good goalkeeping option, and he does all the sweeper keeper stuff you might want to see at a pretty good level. So yeah, he's one of my favourites this year. Goalkeeper, a pretty boring position to talk about, but Muric is a very good option. Moving on to the defence though, and this is a player that I always seem to come back to no matter what save I'm doing. I usually try and vary up who I sign, but sometimes I just have to pick him up because he's such a bargain. This is Jose Marsa, who plays for Andorra, which is Gerard Piqué's team in the lower leagues of Spain, formerly of Barcelona and Sporting Club de Portugal. He has got pedigree behind him. He's a central defensive midfielder that can also play centre-back, but that's where I like him. I just think he's a very good option for the price, and he can be a top half Premier League player in no time, and he's just chilling in the second tier of Spain. He's only going to cost you a couple £1 million, good with the ball at his feet, does the defensive side of the game well, physically very well rounded, good mental attributes too, nice first touch, and he's exactly what you would expect from a former La Masia centre-back, someone that's really comfortable when he's got the ball. He is versatile as well, you can use him in many different areas, but as a left-footed central defender, I think he is a fantastic option, and he's only 21 here. You can imagine in a few years he gets far better than this, so he is certainly one of my favourites that I felt I had to pick out today. But before we continue with the rest of this list, I would just like to ask you, if you see any players in this video that you hadn't saw before, or you just want to be nice, then please go ahead and smash the like button for us, because it really helps the content on here, particularly at a time now where obviously FM24 has been out for ages. The videos aren't going to do as well as they would do when the games just came out, so any support is massively appreciated. Those likes really do help, so thank you for that, and make sure you're subscribed as well, particularly with FM25 out soon. Obviously they did say at the end of January was when we'd get some more details on the game, so anything that we hear, we'll be making videos about it, so make sure you stick around, hit that subscribe button. But let's check out our other 9 players we've still got to go through. Another defender I always seem to come back to in my rebuilds, which, subtle plug, if you want to watch those, you can find my channel linked in the description below as we push for 50k subs. But yes, Mies Hilgers here, the central defender, FC Twente in the Dutch divisions, is an absolutely brilliant talent who I always seem to sign. Depending on what club I'm at, he either comes in to be a starting centre-back, or he's a very good depth option behind maybe your 2 main starters. If you're playing a back 4, of course, who knows, maybe some of you out there are playing a back 5. But for only £10 million or so, he is a great option. His value never really rises much more than that. He usually stays at FC Twente until you, the player, make a move for him. I don't often see the AI clubs going in for him, but he's always great. My scouts always recommend him highly. Age 22, he's still got so many years to get better. Physically, super well-rounded, and whilst he might not be the tallest in the world, he's got good jumping reach and heading, so you can forget about the fact, really, that he isn't the tallest. That won't affect him at all. Decent with the ball at his feet as well, can defend pretty good. A nice bit of pace to him, a nice bit of jumping reach, strength as well. Everything you'd want in a centre-back physically, he has, and again, he's only going to get better. He never really lets me down, always available on a bargain fee, and there's been some saves where I've ended up selling this guy on for 50+ million. So if that doesn't convince you to sign him, I don't know what will. Then there's Sheffield United's Anel Ahmedhodzic, who a few years ago when he was at Malmo was the player that everybody signed in FM. He was a great option back then, and he eventually moved to Forest and had a bit of a move around back to Malmo in the end, then to Bordeaux, and it looked like his career had kind of fizzled off. But then he moved to Sheffield United. He was in the Premier League the year they got relegated, but he is seen as very much a leader at that club, and he's definitely developing into maybe not the best centre-back in the world that FM predicted him to be a few years back, but he is a very good option, particularly if you're playing on the original database and Sheffield United get relegated. He ends up being a great option because he usually wants to leave the club because he is too good for the Championship. But if you've got the updated database on, you'll find him still with Sheffield United, still in the Championship, still available for a very, very good fee here, because in my opinion, he is once again someone that could play for a top 6 Premier League club in Football Manager. That's how talented I think he is. 6'3", some really nice traits that go really well with his attribute set. They're all about being confident on the ball and progressing play, which he has down to a T with 14 passing, 13 vision, 12 technique, decision making, composure, good first touch. He's also great in the air and has all that physical attribute that you'd want to your game. He's an international with Bosnia, and he's only going to get better as the years go by on your save. Not yet in his prime, available here at the start of this save for 15 million. Hopefully it's something similar for you guys. In some saves, I've been so convinced by him that I paid 40 odd million pounds for him a few years down the line. But if you can get him early, he's going to do wonders for you. He is a brilliant player. My final defender though is going to be one from RB Salzburg, who to be honest, I could do this whole video and just say, forget all the players I've mentioned, just go to Salzburg and buy whoever they've got. There's so many great talents in their team, but one that I always find to be a great option is Alexa Terzic, who's a 23-year-old Serbian international fullback. He's not really going to play anywhere but left back, despite the fact he is pretty versatile in his roles here, but I really do think you just want him as some kind of attacking wing back. I wouldn't really focus too much on his defensive duty, but if you have him on, say, wing back on the attack duty, wing back on support, whatever it might be, he's going to do a great job. And again, he's another one that I've seen playing at a very high level. In one save, in fact, he was Real Madrid's left back, which goes to show you he has got that in him. That's not going to be every time, of course, but for £10 million or so, he's got everything you'd want from a modern day fullback. I mean, crossing arguably could be a bit better, maybe the tackling too, but physically, he is very, very good in all the areas you'd want. The pace is going to be very good in the match engine as well. The fact that he is a quick defender, mentally fairly well balanced, and technically decent in the defensive phase, decent with the ball at his feet, everything you could want from a bargain left-back option. Fullback, of course, is a position where it is quite hard to find the right kind of player for the right value, but I think Terzic, for any club at, say, a Premier League level, get him in and you are sorted for the next 10 years, really. Moving into the midfield now, and we have a French midfielder, probably out of everyone we're talking about in this video, one of my maybe top 3 favourites that we're going to go through. This is Joris Chatard, who is Montpellier's 21-year-old under-21 French international, who in this save is wanted by AC Milan. And that's the kind of level he can play at. In fact, in one of my rebuilds recently with Dortmund, I ended up signing him, and he was the linchpin in a Bundesliga winning team eventually. And he is definitely capable of that level. One of the best things about him too is he is in a Montpellier team, which quite often ends up getting relegated, at which point he's even cheaper than the value you're seeing here. But he is someone that's very good defensively with 14 tackling, 13 positioning at the base of that midfield. He really can just hold a whole midfield down himself. But he's not just a defensive minded player. Actually, with the ball at his feet, he's got 12 vision, 14 technique, and 15 passing. He works really hard. He's got great teamwork, and physically he is very well rounded. He's composed on the ball, concentrated, and makes the right decisions with good first touch and dribbling. He is the perfect player really to be that man just in front of a defense, to really have all the play go through. He likes to play short, simple passes. If you can get the trait on him that says dictates tempo, he'll do a great job. In my Dortmund save, he did play slightly further forward in this central midfield role. Still, I think on advanced playmaker or deep line playmaker, can't remember now, but it was in this centre mid area, and he did really well, always getting goals, always getting assists, and being the real heartbeat of our whole team. Another midfield bargain that I think you should keep your eyes out for though is Eric Martel, the 21-year-old that I have had great success with pretty much every time I sign him, because you can go and pick him up for about £10 million in this save here. He's playing in the Bundesliga for FC Cologne, and yeah, I mean, this guy is a brilliant number 6. I wouldn't really opt to play him any further forward than that. Maybe if you're going box-to-box midfielder, but I don't really think he's got the goal-scoring ability or the real incisive passing. I mean, 12's fine, but he's not really going to create loads of chances. I much prefer him at the base of a midfield. 6'2", physically very, very good. He's got the stamina, the natural fitness, the work rate, teamwork, strength, everything you'd want from an industrious midfielder, and that is exactly what he is. He can also play centre-back too at a push, but I wouldn't really suggest it. He's good in the air, decent with the ball at his feet, if not the most progressive passer in the world. He's determined, and overall, I just think he's a very, very good option for the price you can get him for. At age 21, he's of course only going to get better. I've seen him become one of the best midfielders in the Prem in a few different saves, and I think he's got that kind of level to him if you give him the chance. He might not be the most flashiest name you'll ever sign, or the flashiest player without any real technical attributes that stand out, but he's a tough tackler, he's going to work hard for you, and maybe let everybody else shine in the team. I mentioned Joris Chitard earlier was maybe my third favourite signing in this video, but the one I'm going to put in second place, and one that I have signed so many times now, is Giovanni Fabian of Bologna, a 20-year-old Italian central midfielder who I think is just the perfect box-to-box midfielder in this year's game. Great player traits that suit that role. If you have a look at the physicals as well, he's 6'3" and very nicely balanced. The mentals are balanced too, and then the holy trinity of dribbling, finishing and first touch he has at 13s and 12s, which is pretty good for a central midfielder, especially when you remember he is only 20. He's got 16th heading and can create a chance too, can put a tackle in. He's everything you want from a hard-working midfielder. He's going to get up and down to each box. He's usually available for this £10 million fee. In a recent rebuild I did with AC Milan, I bought him in, and knowing his quality, even though he didn't start progressing for a couple of years, I kept him at the club, loaned him out a few times, and then in the third or fourth season with AC Milan, this guy came out of nowhere, scored 20 goals from the midfield position, and ended up being probably one of our most important midfielders. But Fabian here, I think, is just such a good option for the price. He's never let me down. The AC Milan example is one, and that's probably the one where he took longest to get right up to his A game. It says he's a breakthrough prospect at Bologna. I think he is already right here an Italian international. That's how good I think he can be. If you're a team that's trying to progress and rebuild, this is the kind of signing you want. You sign him for 10 million, he plays well for a few years, and then he's going to leave you for 50, 60 million in no time. He is just a fantastic player and one of my favourites this year. But one that I really wanted to point out is Javi Guerra, who isn't someone that I've used a crazy amount of times because he is one of the most expensive players in this video, if not the most expensive. He is for a premium side. I've had him once when I was rebuilding Valencia, and when I say he was a world-class midfielder within a year or two, he was, and you can actually see that I'm not lying here. All his attributes are amazing, and he's only 20. You can imagine in a few years just how good he'll be. But then also, if you're playing any kind of top 4 Champions League level club, let's say it was a Chelsea, a Man City, an Arsenal, and you needed a midfielder, I would argue at age 20, in FM, I'm not saying in real life, but in FM, he walks into all 3 of those teams' midfield because he's just such a complete option. Yes, he's going to cost a lot of money, but within a few years, he will be world-class, no doubt. If you have a look, he does have a release clause of 86 mil. Don't worry, you can get him a little bit cheaper than that. If you got him for, say, 60 mil, I still think it's a bargain for how good he is. Obviously, one for the more expensive teams, but I had to point him out for how well he did for me. Then there's Cucho Hernandez, a player that I hadn't really signed for ages until I did a Leicester rebuild, where I found him available at Columbus Crew in the MLS. The former Watford man you can pick up for around 8-9 million. I think we ended up paying 10 million in my save, and originally I had him as a backup option on this inside forward channel on the left hand side. I thought that's where he would be best, cutting in on his right foot, but within a couple of years he was playing up front for my Leicester team in the Prem and being one of the Premier League's top goal scorers. I don't know why he did so well, but he is just a very, very good option for the price. Like I say, Leicester, Premier League team, say relegation level, he came in and did really well for us and was one of our best players. So if you're at that kind of calibre of club and you're after an attacker, this is a great option. He's versatile, can play pretty much anywhere. He's very, very talented in a bunch of areas, but just seems to be a brilliant goal scorer. Maybe it's the fact that he is quick and strong. That combination probably does help him in the engine this year, but at 24, he's got plenty of years to get better. He's available at a really cheap fee because he's in the MLS compared to what he should be, and I think he's one you all need to look out for. But the final player, and my favourite I think in this video, is Emmanuel Omega. Bundesliga. He is someone that always does well for me. A Dutch striker at Strasbourg, 20 years of age, 6'5", great jumping reach, but he's also quick and strong. Very much in like an Alexander Isak kind of build, the way that he plays, just because he is a big man and you might look at him and think that's all he's got. No, he's actually really good on the ball, great dribbling, finishing ability, he can head the ball well, just a very complete forward, 12 passing as well, 12 technique, good with both feet, a great option for 30 million. He will be a Champions League level striker in no time, could easily be one of the best strikers in the world in any save if you go and pick him up. Being at Strasbourg, it does kind of hinder him sometimes and he needs that little step up to go to a bigger team. I signed him in a Dortmund rebuild and for us, he was instantly our best striker, scored a ton of goals, and that's the kind of level he can play at right from the off. So if you're at any kind of club that has the chance to sign him, bring him in and you won't regret it. He is a born and bred goal scorer, and that completes some of my favourite players that I've signed this year. We've done a couple of other videos like this a few months back, so there's some more options there, but these are ones that are kind of in my heart recently after a few recent saves. I think they're all fantastic players, but of course I want to know your favourites down below, so let me know in the comments, like the video if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.